to Catherine and Hector there. Lastly, we have George Ellison interviewing Oscar Jefferson. Let's see what Oscar has to say.
I'm joined by Oscar Jefferson, running for Pres.
Good evening.
I suppose, first things first, we best say your campaign is certainly different from the rest of the field. Tell us about it.
Well, I'm asking the electorate not to vote for me or any of the other candidates. And it's very important to stress from the get-go that I do not want you to vote for me. What I want you to do is vote reopen nominations. We're saying that there's 75% of the electorate who didn't vote last year who are disenfranchised because they don't think that their votes count. And what we need to do is show USU that there's an appetite for reform by voting reopen nominations to have a second ballot and a second election based on wholesale change to the institution.
So this was the sole reason then why you wanted to run?
Yes.
But what's so flawed about the status quo, and what would you want to see debated in the second election, should Ron, reopen nominations, win?
Well, I think this is a very important thing to clarify about our campaign, is what we want from this second election, and that is a debate over the structure. So I think, there are various routes you could go with this. You could go for a more collegiate system. You could streamline the university structure. You could go for a kind of student parliament model. I think there are loads and loads of ways to do that. But the reason I'm not running on one of those particular tickets is because I think there needs to be a debate about all of those and a consultation based on a strong mandate for change. So without that mandate, without opening that debate, we can't have that second election.
You mentioned their student parliaments, but is this something that has been... I suppose other universities will have seen similarly low turnout. Is this something that other unis have adopted? Because it doesn't sound like something that's a commonality amongst other universities.
Well, this is a problem, and a lot of the sort of feedback we've got from this campaign is people say, oh, well, just 25% of people vote, how can you expect to get people to turn out and vote? And my answer to that is, we shouldn't accept that as a status quo. If you conduct your campaign trying to appeal to a 25%, that's mad. We need to get out there and actually find out, why aren't these 75% of people voting? And I believe it's because they don't think they can make a difference. Reopen nominations present a clear, unprecedented message.
So, but if apathy is such a great force, you say you've already been asked this question many times. If only 25% are out voting, what makes you think they're suddenly going to come out and vote based on your campaign?
I think one of the real struggles with being UC president is there's a lot of bureaucracy. It's very difficult to get policies through. And I think the other candidates are fantastic. I've spoken to a few of them. But I just don't think that the nature of USU will stop them putting in the policies that they say. Whereas you don't have to like me. You don't have to vote for me. If you vote reopen nominations, we will have a second election. It's as simple as that. Your voice will be heard.
But if we take the national CIN as a sort of standard for elections, yeah. Quick elections, so subsequent elections, often precipitates lower turnout anyway, because it's more of a faff to vote. Now, obviously, they don't have to turn up to a ballot box per se, but having another election, surely that will diminish the already low turnout anyway. So your mandate for change will have even less legitimacy.
Well, that's why we're seeking a strong mandate in that first election. We're not looking to... Alex Urquhart won last year with 8% of the overall electorate. We're not looking to squeeze by on an 8% win. This is an appeal to the 75% of people who don't vote to get out and actually express that apathy. And if we can get that mandate, then I think we will have a strong voice in the second election because people will be engaged. The electorate will be involved again.
Do you see this as likely? Are you seeing a strong feedback from students who say they feel disenfranchised, they don't feel they have a voice?
Yeah, and I've tried to consult. I've spoken with people within USU and students, and I'm in my third year now. I've spoken to a lot of people who are frustrated with USU but don't quite know how to articulate that frustration. And I think this is a voicing of that frustration now, this disillusionment.
Do you foresee then this election changing, if say reopen nominations, do you foresee that changing what many would perceive as sort of the problem with USU, perhaps the bureaucracy? Because there's a lot of paid jobs in there, people who aren't elected, they're just doing their day jobs.
Yes.
Would a student-led election cause them to be changed around? There's an awful lot at stake.
Yes.
That's already built into USU. Is that really something that can be changed, especially if it's just something that the students have voted on?
Well, I think it's important to stress that the full-time staff do a fantastic job, but at the moment, the policy isn't coming from the students, it's coming from the full-time staff. So we need the students to be setting the agenda. We need to elect policymakers, not civil servants.
Final question, do you have any ambitions to run yourself?
No.
What if you win?
Then I'll resign out of hand.
Thank you very much, Oscar. That's all from us.
Send us your snaps and see what we're up to in the studio.
Add us on Snapchat at URY1350.